Well, hi, this is Caroline with the Connected Caroline Show. And today I have a new friend that I am talking to. Her name is Kennedy Shelton, and I met her at a special place called We Care Spa a couple weeks ago. And we did a detox together. And she told me all about her digital nomad lifestyle. And I thought that would be a great subject matter for an interview. So welcome to the show, Kennedy. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am doing great. Much better talking to a We Care buddy. That's for sure.
Know. It's great. I know. It's a special place, definitely, for anyone out there that's looking to really do a restart and a reset. I highly recommend We Care Spa in Desert Hot Springs, California. It is just amazing. And it's not for everybody.
Oh no. It's not for everyone, but if you love it, if you like your health and taking just time to really focus and detox everything, it's totally worth it. It's
totally. Yeah. I mean, the podcast is about following your passion and discovering your purpose. And when you get just totally cleaned out like you do at a place like We Care, that is not a detox, retox by night kind of spa. It is a detox straight up all the way, colonics and no food. And it's
water.
So great. It's so great. But you really can have clarity around what makes you happy and, the direction of your life. And I think that there's times throughout the year that every human being, with all the stuff coming at you with media and energy and crazy stuff going on in our world, it's nice to have a place to go and really get centered. And I think that's what We Care does for us. What do you think?
It sure did. It sure did. I just made a little video on my TikTok earlier. I was like, it not only is it a physical cleanse, but it's also a spiritual one. And so it was such a wonderful way to start off the year and just really just kind of center yourself so that you're ready to attack the goals and everything that you want. So I couldn't agree more. I always call it a hardcore spa though, because while it is relaxing, it is a little bit of a job. I mean, I still have a few dreams, that checklist. I'm like, okay, how many more do I have left? But it is such a wonderful experience, and it's where you meet like-minded people. So that's why I'm glad to be here with you today, just to keep that kind of conversation going and keep building those relationships with people who are like-minded and want to step into a space where you're fasting and, learning new ways to care for the body, especially in a society like ours that really doesn't support the kind of healthy eating that we need. So
it's a healthy lifestyle. I mean, it really helps snap you back into stuff like a lifestyle that matters to you, to us, and like you said, like-minded people from all over the world. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place to go. So, but we're here today to talk about, you impressed me so much when I was talking to you there, about your digital nomad lifestyle. And, that word is thrown around a lot now, but you're living it. And so I wanted you to explain why you're passionate about that kind of a lifestyle and what it's all about. And, I haven't had a lot of people in your age group on my podcast. And so I love the idea of talking to somebody who's, younger and sort of starting out their life, their journey in life. And, how does the digital nomad lifestyle fit into how you see your life evolving?
Oh, well, it all started really with my love of travel. I was very fortunate and very blessed. I was raised by many educators, and they worked at Western Michigan University for years, and they worked in the doctoral programs. And through those connections with students and obviously, a college campus, you make international connections. And so I was able to go to China when I was 10 years old in 2008, 2 years before the Olympics. The year after that, we did Egypt. And again, all of this is through close family connections that you make being a professor, with students in a doctoral program. So, when you start hitting those, crazy places at the young age of 10, you're kind of like, Paris is just a flight. Let's make it happen always. How can I make that a part of my life? So when I finally finished school in 2020, which everyone knows was the middle of the pandemic, and I went to school at Howard University, and I'm sure everyone knows Georgetown. As soon as Georgetown makes a decision about not coming back for pandemic reasons or whatever, every other school follows suit. So I had been sitting at home since the spring break, the start of the pandemic. And I was like, I'm just sitting here with nothing to do and an online job that was originally supposed to be based in Asian countries. I had a stint planned in China, Korea, Japan, but of course they were some of the first to shut down. So I was like, when they recommended teaching online, and I was just sitting in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I was like, I got to do something. I got to do something else. And I actually was reached out to on social media from a place that was a co-working facility that had gone to hotels. Their story is interesting because they had just gone to some hotels on this island, Placencia in Belize, and said, hey, you don't have anyone filling these rooms. We can bring you people for 30 days who will live here, stay here. You can keep a staff and they'll be real quiet because they're working. And that's how it really started for me. As soon as I got that invite, within 6 days, I was gone and I lived in Belize for 2 months. And that was really the start of my journey. From there, I made connections with amazing, again, like-minded people who wanted to experience some new things. And it just so happened that because people were being told not to travel, it made it really easy for us to get some cheap flights.
Yeah, I mean, I bet there was nobody in the airport then, people were afraid to do anything out of the house. And so were most of the people, they were students that were in you met up with in Belize, or was there all ages?
It was actually kind of all ages. Again, the pandemic really jump-started a lot for people thinking, do I need to be living this big city lifestyle? Can I be someplace else? So, you're talking about people who are in their late 20s, almost early 30s, who have kind of been doing the rat race, and they're realizing, I don't really have to do this. I don't really have to be here. And so they grabbed their New York salary, their LA salary, and they were like, where can I go where my dollar is twice as much?
Right.
And so they made that work for them. And, as someone who was just starting out, I was always the youngest of the bunch. I'm 24 years old. At this time, I was 23. I had turned 23, 22. So I was a lot younger. I hadn't been in the workforce. And so to them, I was like the baby sister who's just like, woo, I'm in a new place, but for most people, it was much more freeing to be able to do the work that they do love, but to be someplace really cool where we get to see a waterfall on the weekend or something like that. So where I was more inspired by travel, it kind of felt like the people I was with, they were just being freed from the shackles of capitalism, if you will. So
definitely. I mean, that was you look at the big cities, they talk about how business built buildings, are empty because there was a mass exodus in the big cities of people going to a better lifestyle community, something that's slower, more, healthier vibe. And with their current salary, that's like genius. It was the sad genius part. Actually, it wasn't sad, but of the pandemic is that it opened up all of these possibilities that were there, but you just didn't know that door was available, and it became part of what people do now. Because I mean, a lot of people, I know people in tech that went to these small communities in couple hours away from the big city, and they're happier than they've ever been. Their life is healthier and their family's life is better. And yeah, it's all good. So, so you, you know, that was like your first, you're a seasoned traveler for sure.
Yeah.
You know, based on the fact that you had your first big experience when you're 10 years old. I agree. I used to travel with my family.
Yeah.
There's no better education than actually being there and experiencing different cultures and everything. But, and so so now fast forward, it's who you are. It's what you're doing, right? You're moving around from country to country, city to city. Like, explain to the audience what it really means to be a digital nomad. Like, what does that mean?
Oh, that's a loaded question, but we'll find some place to start, because it's every 30 days being someplace new, being someplace different, maybe not understanding the difference between the shampoo bottle and the conditioner when you go to that grocery store. And those little small things, they can get at you, you know, after a while. But it's a wonderful experience. So really, it just means you find a place where you can be co-working, co-living. So places like WeWork, they're coming to huge play. I think I even mentioned to you at WeCare, the hostel service that we use, Selena. It's great. And it allows you to have cheaper accommodations for that 30-day stay. Because remember, it's not like nobody wants to sign a lease here. You know? Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, and it's great living and experiences, but it also gives you access to the city that you're in, and you're there for 30 days. So for me, I teach. So I get up at 5 in the morning. My students, like I said earlier, are in Asia, most Asian countries. So I have to catch their kind of after school hours. So I can start a class as early as 4 in the morning. But the best thing is I'm done at 1. So for me, that might mean a short nap, and then I can explore, you know, Buenos Aires or Rio de Janeiro for the rest of the day and get in bed early that night. But it's also about curating a community, because traveling sometimes can be lonely, right? So reaching out to people and making friends and choosing where you want to go next is also a big part of that journey. But for me, it means having the flexibility to go someplace new, live a new lifestyle, really adapt to where you are as best as you can. Because while you're there longer than that tourist you met at the beach, you're not there long enough, you know, to be a citizen of wherever you're at. But 4 weeks is a long time to get to know the area and connect with the energy that's around you, which makes it great. So as I move forward, I do have a permanent base now for the moment in DC, because I'm looking at making a cross-country move to Cali. But I want to find and keep that flexibility in life. So if I'm done with work, I can say, you know what, I've got 2 months, let's sublease. Where am I off to? So that's how I see the digital nomadic lifestyle really meshing in with your life. And while traveling is important, you don't want to forget the real goals that you have to achieve and do something, whatever that might mean. For me, I see myself producing, I see myself directing, I see myself in that Hollywood sphere, and I really want to give it a go. And I don't want to live in that fear of failure anymore. So I want to take that leap and that step. And while that will give me a strong base here in the US, which I didn't see 6 months ago, I still look forward to being able to say, you know, I finished this project. Where can I go? Where can I go, and how can I explore?
I think that that's a great explanation, by the way. And I think that traveling, especially like you went on your own, you didn't go with like 3 friends or whatever on your first stint, really builds your resilience and builds your confidence, right? To be able to now go, I'm going to make it a, you know, go in LA in the movie industry or in the, you know, entertainment industry, that maybe if you had just done a traditional trajectory, you wouldn't have had that confidence to do that. And also, like you said, the resiliency. You need resiliency to figure out the shampoo and the conditioner and the Asian if you don't speak language. And that's like a muscle, right? That you build. And so the lifestyle is really helpful for personal growth and personal development, I think. And, I see, just by talking to you, I can see, you're wise, for your age, just based on your experiences, I think.
It's, the resiliency is one thing. I am an only child. And I think that's important sometimes when I share with people this message too, because, I've always been the only one in the room when I walk in. There isn't that brother or sister who's a year younger in the same class, whatever the case may be. I come from a smaller family. Our younger generation is much smaller. So we've been spread out most of our lives when it comes from that potential, familial support. So, like I said, when you start off really young with travel, and then, no matter where I was always the only one. You just kind of learn, I think, sometimes as an only child to be like, well, I got to make some kind of friend. So I got to, I got to figure
adults, right?
Right. And I will say too, I've been very blessed. I am fluent in Spanish. And so having that one extra, language to be able to try to communicate, even if it's Italian. I did find out that I do not speak no Italian. But I was making Spanish work for me. Okay, girl. I was like, listen, you're going to help me find the Coliseum. You just, you speak a little bit of that. I'll speak a little bit of this. We're going to find it out together. Coliseo, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get there, So, that does help those, build those skills. And it's something that I've been familiar with for a long time. And I know it's hard for some people to step out and to kind of just get into it, if you will. That's my slogan on 2023. Get into it. Just go for it,
I love that.
I absolutely love it. But, the friends that I have made it worthwhile to be able to just pick up the phone and text people who have been through that journey with you. It's so incredibly amazing, and it's so powerful, because, even like when you have friends back home, you don't know if that translates to an abroad experience. It's like, can I make that travel experience work with that friend? But when you meet people when they're out of their comfort zone and you're all learning something new together, there is something so unspoken about that bond. And I have so much love for those people in my heart. I'll do anything for them. I will fly cross country to make things work for them. And they make the experience worthwhile. Human connection. It's real. It's important.
I get that. It sounds like going to summer camp every year, the same session I went for a month, and those friends, we're still like, there's a bond there that's just different than the people that you actually, go to school with during your regular, your friends you grew up with. And you did grow up together. You're in a different, it's weird. You're transported when you're not in your regular home comfort zone. So actually that segues into, I think that some people think that this is just for the single person, but I know more families that have taken off to the road to do, online school for the kids.
Absolutely.
And they're doing the same thing. So it's really become more common than not for people to want to have, not be saddled with the mortgage, not be saddled, maybe have a smaller place or even a rental that they have home base, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they've got a plan or not, depending on what they need, to work out of different countries and educate that way.
Yeah, I run into a lot of people. I run into a lot of couples too, especially. I
Mhm.
probably do run with a younger crowd, and I really haven't had the chance to be nomadic in the U.S. in the way that most people are, especially like with the people with the minivans and the tiny
Yeah, the
houses and
sprinter
things like
van,
that.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah,
like,
it actually looks so cool. It
yeah.
looks so cool. I don't know if I could do it right now alone. That sounds like for me it'd be a little tough to do alone. Not impossible, but definitely an adjustment. But I have internationally run into a lot of couples, and they make it a part of their life and their lifestyle. And honestly, they're some of the most pleasant people to have around because they're just trying to experience things with their partner. And that's something that, like you don't want to be a third wheel, but it is just good energy. And so I really value that. And I would seek for that too in a partner, somebody who wants to
Mhm.
explore with you and not be afraid to expose the potential family to something, different for 30 days. And that's something that's so awesome. But, there's so many different people from different walks of life. I've met people who, recently divorced, just getting away, needing those 30 days, to just take that breath, try something new. Young people like myself, I've even met people who are mid-career who are like, I just told them I'm remote, I'm not doing it anymore. Like, and I'll
Right. I
be,
mean, that's just that is a non-negotiable. It's remote or nothing. I think
yeah.
that's getting, has become something that people are confident to be able to say. Because
Mhm.
there's plenty, our culture just shifted so much because of COVID.
Absolutely.
And this is like for the better.
Oh
I
yeah. I couldn't agree more. I lived in Amsterdam for about 6 months. I kind of got stuck there because, I probably chose the pandemic to try to hop around. But,
yeah.
being in the Netherlands, I'll tell you about the Dutch. It was going to rain. It had been forecasted that it was going to rain. And I was like, man, I should probably go to the grocery store before this storm rolls in that everybody talks about. It looked like rush hour at 2 p.m. Okay. At 2 p.m. And, the Dutch are nice, they're quaint. And so we were at this stop sign, in the bike lane. I just looked over to this lady and I said, excuse me, ma'am, why are there so many people out? It is 2 p.m. And she said, we are going home. We are going home. It is time. The rain is coming and everybody's going home. They've left work at 2 p.m. This was a Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally different.
like I don't see Americans being like, you know what? There's a rainstorm. Like, we're just all going home from day. It's just a collective energy that we're not going to put ourselves through, the rest of these 4 hours of the day when we could be at home, maybe a snowstorm or something like that. But, it's very rare that I see, at least in our culture, just a collective agreement that we're all going home today so that we don't have to put ourselves through the stress. And that is something that you take with you because their lifestyle supports just being comfortable on a day-to-day basis and not forcing yourself through the day when it can create other issues for yourself.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And weather might not be the best example to bring through and show how amazing it is to see an entire culture decide that we're taking a break. I don't know if that is, speaks to the audience as it spoke to me, but it is so powerful to see that they value, themselves and that their workforce values them as people enough to say, go ahead and go home so you don't have to bike in the rain for 3 hours, like,
Right.
so.
Right. I mean, the saying, your wealth is in your health, and that's
Mhm.
physical health and mental health.
I like that. I
So,
need to write that down.
having a culture that respects that,
Mhm.
and I feel uncomfortable staying here because I'm going to drive in the rain, whatever.
Right.
Not even having that as an issue. I mean, the United States really needs to work on that the work ethic that is just not sustainable for a healthy
Mhm.
human. It just, I mean,
Yeah.
we know that. I mean, look at
Yeah.
all the isms and the issues that people have with their health and the mental health.
Yeah,
It's not just from
absolutely.
work, but I mean, it's just the rat race
Yeah.
lifestyle that we
Yeah.
have here. And every time I travel anywhere outside the United States, I definitely hear like, you guys just work all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's from every country.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They're just not that way in the
No,
European countries. And
oh, they're not. I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating things for me was being in Buenos Aires. And like I said, I get done with my day at 1 p.m. and they wouldn't open anything up until 4. And I hadn't eaten lunch. So every day at 1, I'd be racing to the cafe just to grab that empanada, because they would be like, it is nap time. It is way too hot. The sun is out. You need to readjust your lifestyle, because I would be holding on until dinner. And if you know anything about Latin culture, you can eat a late dinner too. I mean, dinner is 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me to be finished with like nowhere to go, nowhere to eat, because everybody was just like, we'll see you at 4. You know?
Well, yeah, those are the growing pains of being a digital nomad, is that you need to like figure that stuff out quickly, or you will suffer.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I definitely found that grocery store fast. That's for sure.
Yeah. And the difference between the shampoo and the conditioner.
All of those things. All of those things.
So if people were going to Google where they could, find companies that offer the digital nomad lifestyle, actually, I interviewed a friend of mine, Karen Flavel, who has Casaba, and it's the I'll put in the notes which interview that was, but her company is a digital nomad lifestyle company. So you can listen and watch that podcast over again as a bookend to my conversation with Kennedy here. But what was I going to say?
Where we might go, where they might recommend.
Oh yeah, where yes. So what are like the top places that people can like check out?
To travel to, or to use
as like a company that would help them. I mean, you could do it on your own.
Oh, yeah.
What are the kind of the main companies right now besides Casaba, which is coming online now? They're a startup.
Good I look forward to checking out Casaba as well, because you were telling me some things about that earlier. Sounds like the place to be honest. Mostly, I can't even lie to y'all. Do it by yourself.
Okay.
Because some of these companies can be expensive. And if you're not coming from a big city where you're already paying $2,000, $3,000 a month for your regular monthly needs or something like that, it is a bit of a price adjustment. So some great companies are, I love to use the Selena hostels, because it does curate a community, and that's Selena, Selina. You can find them on Instagram super easily, and they even have an Instagram for every single one of their locations. So you can find the headquarters, and you can find wherever you're trying to go. They have over 146 locations. I love them so much because it's affordable. And again, it's because they buy out hostels, you get that community, you get those people who are living more transiently through the world. So you can meet up with them in other locations. I would also suggest a Remote Year or a Wi-Fi Tribe. Those are companies that are so good. They're on the expensive side, but they tell you how to do the 30 days, if that makes sense. Because you get there on the first of the month, and then you've got 4 weeks of them being like, here's where you work, here's where the store is, here's, all of your resources. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you on Saturday for your prepaid excursion, right? So it's kind of like training wheels to the digital nomadic life, because it helps show you how you can recreate a month on your own elsewhere. But other than that, once you do a Remote Year experience or a Y-Tribe experience, make those connections, make those human connections, make those friends, because you can do it so much cheaper on your own and by yourself. I have a group of friends right now. There's like 8 of them. They're by themselves in Mexico, living their dream in Sayulita, Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
And like having the best life ever, just started their 2023. I think they got there at the end of December. They're not leaving till the end of this month, January. So they're just loving it. But we met in different places. I'm looking at their pictures. I'm like, oh, I met her in Buenos Aires. These two met
Yeah,
in
that's
Peru.
cool.
I didn't get to go, on that trip, but now I see that connections, and the world itself, while it seems so big, it becomes smaller because the community of digital nomads is so close and so tight knit, because you need to stick together. So I would recommend those kind of training wheel companies like Remote Year, Wi-Fi Tribe. As you start to segue on your own, Selena, when you get your friends, go by yourself.
Yeah.
Go by yourself, for real.
So great. So you have like a pot of people, say there's 10 of you. And so there might be 4 or 5 or 6 that go to, for this month or 2.
Right.
And then, but in 3 months, more of you will go, like you keep, it's your little family. Is that how?
Exactly. And it depends on the company you use too. So for example, I started off with the Umaya company. They have a different name now. They did change their name, but I was one of the first. So I call it Umaya. But they kind of actually had like a rolling admission. So you might be there for a week, you have been there for a week, and then somebody gets there that day, which is not like a Remote Year or Wi-Fi Tribe. So that generated this really big base for us. I mean, even like 3 days before I left, I met like 5 new people. So we made this like ginormous group chat where it's just a whole bunch of people who are traveling, and they're like, February, I want to be here. Who wants to go? And then you just kind of break away and make your own
I love it.
Group chat of like where you want to be. And we all have like a starting cost and line of like how much we want to pay for accommodations, what that wants to be. If you don't want to be in it, you don't have to opt into that trip, but you support their journey and you maintain that connection, which is really the most important thing. So that is the best thing that you can do is to build that community around you. And you start to see it come together, and, they start to help you, once it's like, I went to Rio, it was only 3 of us. And one of our friends had been there the month before. She was like, call this person, and this person, and this person, and go to this hostel. And we were set our time there. So, you start to help each other, and you start to also feel, which I know is really important for people, especially traveling to countries that, are not known all the time for being as safe. It's so great to have people that know that you're in that place. And that's not just your mom, but and people that can get to you. Having a seasoned traveler be able to say they can get to you if they need to, they're going to catch that bus, that train, that plane, and that they will be able to navigate even if they don't speak the language, to make sure that you're doing well, which I think is important too.
It's so great. I love the fact that your generation, for sure, they don't need like permission, or it's not like just a special trip or a gap year. It's like your lifestyle, and so I think that it's a wonderful way to look at the world. It's, like you said, it's like, it's just an airplane flight away. Every time I go anywhere, outside of the United States, I'm like, oh my God, it's so close, relatively speaking. Why don't we do this more often? Every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that always stuck with me was I was on a group trip and we were staring at the Eiffel Tower, and it lights up at night. You're just like living that Emily in Paris feeling. And this young woman next to me, who had been to over 40 countries, she said, y'all, if we turn around and look away, it's not going to evaporate. And that really changed the game for me. I said, you know what? These places are not untouchable. Just because I'm not there doesn't mean that Parisians aren't walking around in berets right now, like eating crepes. And I was like, this is something that is tangible, it is doable, and I can maintain this lifestyle. It just takes the courage and the planning to make it happen, because you do have to say, I have been living somewhere. What am I going to do with the space that I have been in? And that makes a difference. And it is, as a young person, it is sometimes hard to communicate that to friends and family, how you're making it work, what you're doing. And I remember distinctly calling my mom. I think I called her like 5 times in one day. And every time I called her, I told her I was going to be someplace else. I think I scared her to death. Every time I called, I was like, so get this, Mom. Morocco, that's where I'm going. I'll be there 30 days. I called her back 2 hours later. I was like, couldn't do Africa, couldn't make it work. But guess what? Jordan, that sounds good. doesn't it? Petra, my Indiana Jones dream. And she was
Right.
like, oh Lord. And then I call her back and I'm like, change my mind. Portugal. Portugal's where I need to
Oh,
be,
God.
you know. So I know, like you said, it is an adjustment between generations.
Yeah. But I mean, I love that. I mean, your mom is going to just be your mom no matter what you're telling
Yeah,
her.
absolutely.
And I did meet your lovely mother, which was wonderful. Well, wrapping up, Kennedy, this has been a really delightful conversation, and you definitely are, walking the talk of following your passion and, finding your purpose. Your purpose is to like be a woman of the world and share your spirit with everybody, with the world, and not just be like, at a desk somewhere doing your online teaching with the Asian community. What do you teach, by the way?
I teach English and Spanish online. I mostly teach like pronunciation-based classes. So I help them make some of those connections, R's and L's, things like that. Really sound things out in my classes.
Well, awesome. I mean, you're just such an amazing person. And like I said, We Care is another type of place that it's like there's a tribe of people that love it and go there. And this last trip definitely was like amazing because there's so many people that had been there before and had been going for a long time. It was really special. So, and I got to meet you and your mom.
Yes, I was so happy to meet you. It's always great to meet that other person that's been there before who kind of knows what you mean too. But we had such a great group, and I was so blessed to have met you and anybody who's interested in hearing my story. I do love to share and connect. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I love having you. And let's talk about how people can like get with your TikTok, and because you have a
sure
TikTok following and like all your other socials. I'll put it in the notes, but we'll go ahead and
Yeah, absolutely. I do make little daily vlogs, and you should check mine out. I made some for our We Care experience. I did everything I could to kind of hide the name because I was like, I want to gatekeep just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you can find me on TikTok. It's KBell000. It's Bell like the princess, so BELLE. And my Instagram is very similar, KBell98. Okay, if you are interested in checking me out, I try to make a few videos. I have some bigger trips coming up this year in 2023. If you want to follow along, places like India are on the list.
Yeah, that's like my final question. What you're going to India? Where else are you going?
So right now I've just got India booked. I've got some friends thinking about a Peru, and then later I've got a lot of friends who are thinking about Bali, because it's really just the hot place to be right now, especially because it can be so affordable with our US dollar.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I went to Bali for a month, and
did you love it?
Oh my God. I loved it. It was amazing. It was,
wow.
Yeah.
I might actually need to reach out to you and get some tips and pointers.
A really long time ago.
Either way.
Before you were born, probably. Well, anyway, Kennedy, thank you so much for being on my show. And we'll be in touch for sure. And you just have a lovely day. And thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. And until next time, this is Caroline with Connected Caroline. Make it a giving day. Bye-bye.
Okay.